Sacramento Metropolitan Cable Television Commission is being videotaped in its entirety and will be cablecast without interruption on Metro Cable 61, the government affairs channel on the Sacramento cable system. Today's meeting is being cablecast live and will be repeated Friday at 9 in the morning. Members of the audience wishing to address the commission should fill out a speaker identification form located at the back table and give it to our secretary. Please speak into the microphone when addressing the commission and state your name for the record. Once again, Sacramento access producers and facilities have received national recognition. I'm pleased to officially acknowledge Access and SECC as each securing titles of overall excellence in access and education at the recent convention of the National Federation of Local Cable Programmers. And we're going to do this just because it is a wonderful thing, but first the secretary says roll call is in order, so we'll have roll call.
Almost gotcha. Grantland Johnson, absent. Jane Smith, alternate. Toby Johnson.
Here.
Collins. Roby.
Here.
Strang.
Here.
Harris.
Here.
Castanen.
Here.
Fletcher.
Here.
We have four.
Annually, we look forward to the event of not granting, but making awards of those who have achieved success. And as I read to you in the opening paragraph, this was a series of awards granted at the recent convention of the National Federation of Local Cable Programmers. And additionally, Access Community Volunteer Producers received 3 first-place individual awards and 4 runner-up finalists. I'm going to ask Randy Van Dalsen and Jay Thompson to come to the microphone there at the podium to accept my congratulations and these resolutions of recognition on behalf of their organization. So I shall step down there too. It's always a pleasure to deliver acknowledgments of work not only well done, but of success achieved in competition, and knowing that the awards are solid evidence of success. I wish to present these 2 resolutions from the Sacramento Metropolitan Cable Television Commission. The whereas begins with, whereas the Sacramento Metropolitan Cable Television Commission does not review nor endorse program contents whatsoever, but does encourage and support community programming activities by local individuals, and whereas several Sacramento video productions using the resources of Access Sacramento received awards and recognition as finalists and winners in the National Federation of Local Cable Programmers, the 1991 Hometown U.S. Video Festival, we have resolved to present this resolution to you and the names of those who achieved recognition and for what will be presented later. So Randy, we present this resolution to you and congratulate you as the leader of your organization in behalf of the productions that have been mentioned. And here we also have a whereas the Sacramento Metro Cable Television Commission awards this resolution to Sacramento Educational Cable Consortium for overall excellence in educational access, an honor granted by the National Federation of Local Cable Programmers 1991 Hometown USA Video Festival. They identified you as a national model for your extensive services to our educational community, including acquisition and production of quality educational programming, and your technical support to area schools and educators, the in-service and teleconferences provided teachers and administrators, and the support, materials, and workshops aiding educators in accessing and utilizing cable technology in the classroom. Jay, on behalf of your organization, our Television Commission congratulates you and presents you with this award. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
And now, you're at... While you're here at the microphone, we would like you to go ahead to make your presentations, and I shall be glad to pass out copies of resolution as you find it appropriate and convenient.
Thank you. We have, as you heard, a number of people were fortunate enough to be honored with either finalists or winners in this Hometown USA Video Festival this year. Just also like to mention that while they're coming up, please, that there were almost 2,100 entries in this festival this year. Therefore, this is by far the largest cable programming contest in the United States. So we should feel very fortunate that we are seeing some incredibly good programming coming out of Sacramento, and we thank you for your efforts in helping us make this happen. And Orville will be giving the resolutions to these individuals. First, we have Sue Peppers. She produced a documentary in the sports category called the ACT Games. It was a brief program about a special ceremony or competition involving people who are physically challenged, and it was a wonderful program that caught the judges' eyes very well, and she was honored with the winner in the category of sports programming. So, Sue Peppers. Another program that was produced by one of our staff people actually on his own time. He produces a series called Latin Accents, and one of the individual programs in that series, which was entered in the international category, was called The Flying Samaritans. And this was another wonderful program which featured this gentleman going with portable equipment in an airplane, along with a number of wonderful Sacramento area physicians, doctors and nurses, who contribute their own time to go to Baja, California, to provide medical services to people who are in very dire straits there. And it was a wonderful program, and Jorge was the producer director of that documentary, and he won in that category, international. Next here we have Joanne Engel, who is resplendent in her normal purple. Joanne, you might have seen in recent articles in the Sacramento News and Review and Sacramento Magazine featuring her, and as one of the stories called Sacramento's Oprah. She does this wonderful series of programs. In fact, this week, I believe it is, she's celebrating the 100th program in her series, which she entered in the informational series category for programming here. And this is one of the most competitive categories of them all. And Joanne's series includes programs in which she takes the mobile production unit out to local schools, or she'll take just the portable cameras into the community to look at different public affairs interest stories that she's found. And it's quite a sight. I remember that one high school auditorium. Where'd you have 1,200 students that you were sort of in charge of for a while there? Yeah. So Joanne does a wonderful program. We're very proud of Joanne Engel and the Joanne Engel Show. Next, we have another program that was produced by Jorge Monzon. As a staff person this time, he was in charge of overseeing the production of a series that we have on our channel called Promotions. We have various promotional spots that we run to either encourage viewership or production of programs that are seen on the channel. And Jorge, along with John Jimenez and Steve Roberson, have produced this series of programs in which they have been honored as a finalist in that particular category. So that's for Access Sacramento Promos. And again, Jorge produced another one of those individual promos, which we entered actually in a special category called Free Speech Minute in honor of the 200th celebration of the Bill of Rights. They had a special category this year. And one of the promos that Jorge had produced, including some terrific shots at the Capitol and in period dress, sort of tying the early days of the Bill of Rights to today and how it still is alive. And we use it in electronic media, clearly through public access television. And his particular program there was called The New Freedom of Speech, and that too won a award as a finalist in the category of Free Speech Minute. So once again, Jorge picked up that finalist nomination. And finally, we had a finalist in the category of documentary, in the public awareness subcategory of documentaries. And it was produced by a gentleman named Mike Grunman, who is no longer in Sacramento because he has decided to pursue potential career as a documentary video maker. He's now attending classes at Temple University in Pennsylvania. So he was very thrilled to hear that he had achieved the status of finalist in that category. And we'll make sure the proclamation gets sent to him. Thank you very much. And thank you, everybody. You've done a wonderful job.
Randy, could I ask you just a question? So, Mike, just a point of curiosity, and it has nothing to do with these wonderful awards, but just a curiosity that those type of awards bring about. On an over-the-air station, Channel 6, they run a series called Point of View, which seems to be produced by independent producers also. And that has been some spectacular programming, and I do not know if some of that programming has had its roots in some of the access channels across the United States or not. That's a tremendous.
As a matter of fact, you're absolutely right. I have seen some programs on there that I knew were produced by access producers in Manhattan Cable. I think one of them in particular was regarding the way the media covered the Persian Gulf War and attitudes both for and against the war, and had some interesting guerrilla television footage of that type of. I know that was from an access operation. But indeed, there are efforts to try to create this type of a network of public access programming, both through the broadcast medium, through that program in particular. And then indeed, there is a series already in existence that coordinates programming via satellite called Deep Dish Television, that we are also interested in trying to provide programming for that. And
are programs produced, for instance, in the way that the access channels are producing it? Can those producers turn around and offer the same type of things that they produced to an over-the-air station, like a PBS station?
Oh, they sure could.
They could? Okay, I'm interested in that. I was talking with, just this morning, I'd seen the one called Iroquois Nation, or Honorable Nation, I guess was the name of it, and I had just sent to get a tape of that because that was an outstanding program, very thought-provocative, provocative program, and that was produced by private resources, and I was just wondering in terms of accessing, it's a wonderful field for people who are doing independent programming to get into.
We're starting to see some changes, especially in the public broadcasting system. Historically, they've had some of the most high technical standards, which have made it very difficult for access programmers to gain access. But now we're seeing some changes in that philosophy that might make it more common to see programs produced by operations like this to actually show up on public television stations. In fact, we're working on that type of thing right now with our series called State of the Arts, which right now runs on 26 cable television systems across the state. And we've had an inquiry from a couple of the smaller public television stations, over-the-air stations, to also start running that series. So we shall see. We'll keep you posted. Terry?
Terry has some presentations to make at this time.
Why are we letting Terry do it?
I'm wearing a different hat. And I want your indulgence for just a few minutes. As you probably will remember over the years when we've had reports from Access Sacramento, we've heard about something called the educational training that has gone on between Cosumnes River College and Access Sacramento. As a matter of fact, we are a model for the country. There is no other educational institution or access cable access nonprofit that has the relationship that we do here in Sacramento. Through the efforts of Randy's office and particularly Ron Cooper, the educational coordinator, and the college, we have trained over 5,000 students in the use of cable television equipment. And that training is required for these people to get out into the field, into the community, and produce their television programs. And as you can see today, they are award winners from across the country. And we think, at least at the college, a good amount of that credit goes to the relationship between an educational institution and a nonprofit group like Access Sacramento. I was the dean of the college for a number of years and was responsible for this program. I've since transferred to City College, so I will not be administering that program at Cosumnes River anymore. I'm teaching at Sacramento City College, so I wanted to take this 5 minutes of your time to acknowledge some awards of students who have not only completed the units required to have access to this equipment, but also to recognize them publicly because they're also students at the college earning credits, and we have put together these awards of completion for these persons, and 6 of them are here today. Beginning to...
Isla, is it okay now? Want to go ahead?
Yeah, is that okay, Isla?
Imagine. Now that he's teaching City College, which is really in my district, in which I...
Oh, that's okay then, huh?
That's okay.
You have permission.
I have permission to continue.
Okay.
The program of comm media now at Cosumnes River College is a transferable program. So students now who are taking courses at the college, as part of Access Sacramento, will be able to transfer those units to four-year institutions and get a higher degree if they wish. So we want to acknowledge these people who are here in the audience today. Let me mention and ask to come forward then John Eric Thomas. I think you're here today, John.
Great.
Will Hawley, are you here? Come on up, Will. Jan Zacharias. Bobby McCurry. Rusty Mendez. Rusty. And Les Finch. Some people are absent, and we'll make sure they get their awards, but let me read it to you very quickly. Award of completion to these individuals is recognized by Access Sacramento and Cosumnes River College for completing the required number of units in the field of television and radio production and becoming a cable access producer. Isn't that great? Congratulations, you guys.
Terry, with the lady that's taking the picture, do you want to take a picture from the front? Just come on up. And Terry, could you let her get some pictures?
Oh, we have a photographer here. Great.
Terry, you have another one over here. Over here. They can take pictures.
You sure did.
Sir?
Great.
Camera.
Thank you, Bobby. Congratulations. Do you have your photographer in the room?
No.
Okay. Congratulations. Bill? Congratulations. I didn't see you. That's wonderful, guys. And John. Congratulations. I think it's wonderful. Come in. Keep going to school. Keep that. Keep busy, right? All right. Thank you very much. Let me acknowledge Nicole Sawyer, my secretary, who had a great deal to do with this, and Ron Cooper, who is the educational coordinator as well. Thank you very much.
This completes the presentation of awards and resolutions. So we're now ready under item number 1 to receive a motion and second to adopt the resolutions of recognition which have been presented. May I hear that?
I move that we adopt the resolution of recognition.
Is there a second? Any discussion? Will the secretary please call the roll?
Brenton Johnson. Jane Smith.
Yes.
Isla Collins.
Yes.
Roby.
Aye.
Strang.
Here. Aye.
Here too.
It's been a long week, Jim.
Harris.
Aye.
Castana.
Aye.
Fletcher.
Aye. Thank you. Item number 2, a summary of grantees 1991-92 year-end report and 1991-92 annual budget and programming plan. Staff report first, please.
As we've done in the past years, these are the annual programming plans and past year reports by the grantees. Recall that we have noticed the grantees in May of the probable expenditure levels. We have approved the funds in our budget. And this is their presentation to you of their plans for the upcoming programming year. Chair, I suggest that you start with your choice, whoever the grantees would like to begin.
Do you want to just go down the list in this order, or however order they want?
I'll call on each one in turn.
Oh, okay.
We'll go in the order in which they are printed here. Jan Tillman, first of all.
Good afternoon, Commission.
Hello.
With me today is Margaret Steigers, Manager of Cable 7, and I am Jan Tillman of KVIE. Our presentation to the Commission was in June, and in August we submitted our fiscal year 91 report and our fiscal 92 annual plan and budget. The Executive Director advises that we have about 5 minutes to take questions and answers on our reports. I'll just give you some highlights and maybe glean a little bit of information to something that you discussed just a moment ago. In fiscal 91, we were fortunate enough to be able to produce 4 very special historical programs in a series we call Memories. And that was for the Cable 7 channel. Those programs are being distributed to public televisions nationwide in January, and they are also going to be distributed on the Learning Channel. It's a non-commercial educational cable service, which is also national. The programs are historical. They're about our local area, and they have significance that both public television programmers and the people who are programming the curriculum for the Learning Channel feel have significance nationally. So yes, it certainly is possible to create local programs and to get them to broader audiences across the country. I would certainly consider that to be a highlight of fiscal year 91 for us at Cable 7. In our fiscal 92 plan, which I'm sure you've all read from cover to cover, you will see that our emphasis has shifted, and that's because of the restriction of resources that we have to operate the service, to providing an emphasis on our local community service in the breaks between programs. And beginning October 1st on the Channel 7 service, the most notable change that you will see as you're viewing it is that between programs you will see both program promotion and local community service and public service announcements. There are 2 reasons for that. Obviously, the first one is to provide a local service in our community. And secondly, we are delighted with our channel placement on the Sacramento cable system, and we want to ensure that we're going to be able to retain viewers between programs. So we're hoping that as we make the breaks between those programs more sophisticated and develop some flow, that we'll be able to retain our audience there. You will see from our reports that the service has been managed very efficiently. We continue to provide a 24-hour-a-day service. Again, Margaret's good management brought the budget in under budget this year, and that allows us to retain as much as possible as we can of funding for carry forward. And as we discussed in the last commission meeting, we're quite concerned about capital acquisitions in the future. We have set aside some funding for future capital purchases, and that's reflected in our plan and our budget. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions from the commission?
Great. No, I think you must have also had a certain amount of exposure by Sacramento Cable's reprogramming.
We certainly have.
I still think they're to be congratulated for that reprogramming, even though I know it's painful at times when everybody has to readjust. I think that that's made a lot more convenient service for the subscribers of the system, and I'm sure a lot more subscribers discovered Channel 7.
That's absolutely true, and we have some quantifiable evidence of that in the percentage of increase that we've had in requests for program guides that we make available to Channel 7 subscribers. And I don't have the exact numbers, but I bet Margaret does. 1,600 per month we are now providing for Channel 7.
How do we get reimbursed, though, for the amount of postage that was cost?
No, we don't get reimbursed for the postage. We pay for the postage from our grant.
That's what I figured, that
Right.
by the time each of these groups, when they try to accommodate these lists, and that includes the government channel too, when you repeatedly have people calling in, they want the guide because they want more specific information.
That's correct, and
it costs to print it, and it costs to distribute it.
And Richard, along with the other grantee managers, as you know, are working together to do something jointly.
Try to do something together.
Yes.
It'd be so much better if we could do it together. I think the subscribers would all love it too.
Next month.
Next month? Oh, wow.
We're working on it for 3 months. We'll get to it.
Oh, great. That's exciting.
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Thank you.
Good work.
Thank you.
Is Phil Corbeau in the audience or a representative of KXPR? We'll come back to that presentation later. Randy Van Dalsen, will you come forward again?
I certainly will. On behalf of everyone at Access Sacramento, I'd really like to express our sincere thanks to the Cable Commission for your support during the past year. And we really hope that you share our joy in the accomplishments of the community producers who have helped Sacramento gain a national reputation for excellence in local cable programming. We'd also certainly like to thank Sacramento Cable for its support, with special appreciation for the recent channel assignments. As a result, we are certain that our programming now reaches far more viewers, many of whom have called to find out how they can get involved. During the past fiscal year, we once again broke our previous annual records in original programming activity. Nearly 2,300 programs premiered during the year, representing almost 1,300 hours of first-run programming. Since we began operations less than 5 years ago, Access Sacramento has cablecast over 8,000 original programs, totaling over 5,000 hours. We have determined that the value of our services to the community, based on what public access producers would have had to pay local vendors for these services, totaled $5 million during the fiscal year. Access Sacramento is also very proud of the fact that so many programs by our producers were honored in awards competitions during the past year. 7 of our entries were selected as finalists, and 3 won top awards in the Hometown USA Video Festival, including the prestigious Overall Excellence Award to Access Sacramento for the 2nd time. As you remember, in 1989, it also was presented to Access Sacramento. During the past 4 years, Access Sacramento and its community producers have been honored with 25 finalists and 10 winners in this largest cable programming competition. In addition, 8 of our entries were finalists and 4 were winners this year in the Western Access Video Excellence Awards, which is a major regional competition featuring entries from the states of California, Nevada, and Hawaii. Another exciting development during the year was the huge growth of public access radio programming. KCBL, which is heard on cable FM 88.7, is now heard 24 hours daily with an amazing variety of musical formats, as well as public affairs programs, sports, religious series, and many, many more. Over 60 hours per week of original radio programming is now presented on this station. Maybe we need to see if we can get a broadcast license for that. Access Sacramento was also able to meet its goal this year of providing a telephone-to-computer interactive information service shown on its video channels during all non-video programming hours. This service has been used almost constantly by cable subscribers since we introduced it in February. Well, in the year ahead, we hope to continue our effort to provide valuable services to this community. We will work with local groups and individuals to present our goal of 2,400 original TV programs during the year, aiming for a total of 1,350 hours of first-run programming. We also hope to provide over 3,000 hours of original radio programming on KCBL. In order to attain these goals, however, we must continue to rely on the ability of most of our existing equipment to perform far beyond its manufacturer's estimated life expectancy. Our budget does include roughly $28,000 for the purchase of portable and editing systems to replace equipment which can no longer be maintained, and $15,000 for replacement parts and supplies. Similar budget allocations are possible for the next 2 years. But we know that we are relying on a significant amount of luck to keep up with the demand to use these facilities. In addition, other measures have been adopted to help make ends meet, such as limiting all staff salary increases to a 3% maximum per year, freezing all other budget line items or holding them to a maximum increase of 5%, and working as hard as possible to find supplemental funds from other sources. Of course, this is a very difficult task in today's world. Clearly, we're going to do all we can to maintain our operations and hope that additional funds may be available to us from franchise fee revenues when those payments resume in late 1993. Finally, many of you also know about our current effort to bring the annual convention of the National Federation of Local Cable Programmers to Sacramento in 1994 or 1995. In fact, I would like to personally thank people like Orville and Isla and Terry for writing on behalf of the Commission, of the Board of Supervisors, and on the for the City Council. In addition, the Mayor wrote a very nice letter, all encouraging this group to come to Sacramento. Working with the staff of the Convention and Visitors Bureau, we put together an excellent proposal, we feel, to the Board of Directors. In the brief 3 to 4 week time that we had to put this thing together, we were able to collect over 50 letters of support for the effort from local community groups, businesses, government agencies, school districts, and access programmers. The decision will be made by the end of next month, when we hope to announce the selection of Sacramento as a future site of this convention, which will, by the way, attract over 1,000 people for 3 days of activities in mid to late July, which is not exactly a hot, well, actually it is a hot time to bring a convention to Sacramento. Again, we at Access Sacramento sincerely thank you for your ongoing support of our efforts, and we hope to continue to help bring acclaim to our community for excellence in local cable programming. And I'm happy to answer any of your questions.
I just had one question, and it's generic to all the groups, because in going through the report, and I didn't know whether to ask you or ask staff, so I'll just bring it up now. In going through the report, summary of grantees, year-end report, the annual budget and programming plan, when it talks about reserves, what does that mean?
Let's see, the cash balance the grantees project at next June 30th in their respective bank accounts.
So does that mean that that reserve money would be available for capital outlays, for...
In accordance with our decision several years ago with the change with the transfer of ownership and the whole settlement, there are no restrictions on the use of reserves. Each grantee has essentially used the reserves to augment the Commission's allocation each year to maintain current levels of service.
Okay, that's what it means then. Like I was noticing, Access had spent so much revenue, and then they dipped into their reserve, and but they closed the year with some pretty healthy reserves. But I didn't know whether that meant this year, but that is projecting into next year.
The bottom number is June 30th of 92. Above that is the June 30th number of 91, as reported by the grantees. Mm-hmm. So,
okay, so if we were to look at this, we're looking at the big sheet, the spreadsheet. Okay, on the spreadsheet then, when it says reserve as a percentage of expenditures, along with that cash balance at the very bottom, that would be in 92.
That's correct.
Mm-hmm.
Do those look similar to what last year, or have they grown?
They've reduced.
I think they've increased. They're probably all dipping into that to keep their current level of operation going. But if they have to start using some of that for capital outlay, then they can't keep their current level unless they could do outside fundraising to...
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, they're very different, though.
Yeah, each of us are trying to supplement the funds. I think last year we raised roughly $50,000 in additional revenue, and we're going to try to nearly double that this year.
Other income.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know, of course, the idea is going to be not to dip too deeply into that reserve fund, but as you see, every year we have to dip more and more into it, so that's just part of doing business.
I suppose the question is, do the reserves come anywhere near meeting some of the capital outlays some of these groups are going to have? Or should they be, probably what they ought to be doing is some real aggressive fundraising.
Well, that's why we asked last year.
Most people are willing to give, but you're not asking them to do it on an operating basis. You mean you're going to come back every year and ask them for this? That usually scares the heck out of them. But if you say this is a one-time fundraiser because we're trying to buy a new camera, or we're trying to do, you know, some big project, those are fairly successful fundraisers. And when you look at that, some of those are going to be in much more immediate need of doing that than others. But I'm just trying to get a picture of what it's going to look like.
And we'd be very hesitant to really dip heavily into that capital reserve to buy equipment at this point, because to do that, that means we'll have that much less money to operate, and we'd really have to probably cut back services. So we're gradually trying to replace equipment as much as possible and just work very hard to keep the people well educated on how to use the equipment so it doesn't break down, and also have a good maintenance crew around to keep the equipment going. Because right now, some of those manufacturers are surprised that that gear is still running. One of our bigger problems is getting replacement parts, but, you know, we keep going.
Gary? I'll ask the same question that I had marked to ask, and that is the reserves versus the capital outlay. I didn't see where KVIE had any reserves in their report. Is that?
They reflect $15,000 set aside in their operating budget.
For reserve, for a capital outlay?
For capital outlay, for a purchase of a playback system.
But how about reserves for operating?
KVIE is still holding $58,000.
In reserve?
In reserve, at the bottom of that page, or 51% of their proposed expenditures for the budget year.
See, by my arithmetic, the grantees are holding $400,000 in reserve as a group, and have set aside $53,000 for capital outlay. And I know that I know where you're headed, and I don't blame you. On the other hand, you know, maybe you ought to take a look at the priorities there, because you know, it's nice to think that we're going to be able to supplement this equipment. But I don't know, you know, when we're going to be able to do that. Yes, we're planning on Sacramento Cable to start paying franchise fees in 1993. We have not discussed how we're going to be structured once we get this new income. But for the grantees to continue to hold reserves and then continue to say we don't have enough money to buy equipment, you have a credibility gap, I think, that is very obvious in my mind.
Well, but note that that reserve is declining, and the idea for us is to make that slope of that decline to get probably pretty close to zero, not before the time when there's the possibility of additional revenue through the franchise fees. Something that we have definitely worked closely with staff based on that recommendation to do that type of thing, because if we took our reserve down to zero right now to buy more equipment, without question, I would have to start cutting back our operating hours and letting staff go to handle that. So that's why that reserve is there. Judging based on the fact I'm going to need to dip further into that reserve next year and the year after and probably the year after that to keep maintaining the level that we have right now. So I don't foresee that staying that, well, if you look at 2 years ago, I think our reserve was 175,000 or something like that. We're counting on that being down to 115 by the end of this year. So this is just sort of this thing to maintain present operations into the future until potentially the possibility of additional revenue coming through when the franchise fee revenues are there.
I'd feel much better if you were spending your money than holding it, Randy. It seems to me that you and education and KVIA, you're all doing a wonderful job. I mean, that's very evident. And I don't think you should hold back just because the future is so uncertain. I think you should go ahead. I'm not saying spend it all, but in terms of perception, and when you come to present a budget and you have a great deal of reserves, I just think that you should be spending your money. I mean, that's what you're in the business of doing.
Well, to paraphrase someone else we all know and love, we're trying to be very prudent in the way we manage these funds. Just because I'm always trying to think in terms of maybe 3 years ahead. Am I going to be able to maintain what we've got next year and the year after based on the amount of spending I'm doing this year, and based on the fact that I do not assume any significant increase of revenue coming from the cable fees that we now get. So therefore, that's what I'm trying to do to basically answer your question. Because if I did dip significantly further into that reserve fund, I know without a fact that I have to be prepared probably within, if not next year, the year after, to significantly cut back what we are able to offer. And I'm really trying to prevent that from happening. So that's the kind of decision that our board has made in this respect.
It's a tough decision.
It sure is. It's real hard.
Another question. Do you have a continuing cordial agreement with the college to continue the training programs of persons such as we heard about today?
We do. We continue to bring that program along. I think there have been some different changes in policies at the college, which will mean we won't be able to offer as many courses as we offered in the past, but we still are very hopeful that we'll be able to provide enough to meet the demand that we have right now. Right now, Sacramento, frankly, is very lucky in this respect. Typically, in major urban areas, a waiting list to get training for access producers is in the neighborhood of 8 months to a year to just get on a waiting list. We are able to handle most everybody on demand to set them up for a course or one of the courses. In fact, we offer far more courses than most operations like ours throughout the country.
But
so
the answer to the question is you have an ongoing agreement that is substantial and probably will take care of this coming year's needs.
I don't see any stoppage of that relationship at all, Orville.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you, Randy. Jay Thompson, please, representing the Educational Consortium.
For the record, Orville J. Thompson, Chair of the Sacramento Educational Cable Consortium. I'd like to thank all of you for the resolution this afternoon. I think it was very thoughtful of you, and we appreciate it very much. Before I get into the prepared remarks, why don't I make a couple of comments? I went to the annual convention of the National Federation of Local Cable Programmers, along with Liz Rhodes, to accept the award. And it was the first time that I had gone to the convention. And so I had an opportunity to talk to a great many people from across the country. And it was interesting to note that both Randy and Liz, nationally, are very highly respected. And their thoughts are sought out, and they consult with others. And I think the two of them together have done an excellent job of, in effect, putting Sacramento on the map from the standpoint of cable access. And I was very pleased to see that Sacramento is fortunate in having this quality of individual, as represented by Randy and Liz, working with us and for us in the community. The other comment I would make deals with the equipment. We've set aside $10,000 for equipment replacement. One of the differences between the other grantees and SECC is, as you'll recall, we got a late start on purchase of the equipment. So ours is not nearly as old as Access Sacramento, for example. So that we have projected the life of the equipment, but we are not in a critical environment as far as replacement. And we do expect, as we continue to set aside money for replacement of equipment, that we will not get caught short, and we won't have to come back saying, please help us out. But it is by design and by plan that we are setting the money aside, and because we got a later start, our equipment is expected to last further in the future than Randy and his group and what they are experiencing now. Also, as far as the percentage projected at the end of the year, I believe ours is 13%. It's the lowest projected of the grantees. That is simply a subjective decision. and you could say it's a subjective decision on my part, in weighing the risk of going into a year without any funds set aside, knowing that there will be emergency expenses and expenses that are unforeseen that are going to crop up that the organization will be expected to support. For example, I believe it was during the middle of last fiscal year that we were asked to contribute, I believe it was several $1,000s, to the study of seeing who views cable television and the different channels, the government channel and the grantees. That's one example of expenses that come up in the middle of the year that I believe a well-run organization should be able to cover. So the amount that's the bottom of the line for SECC is my subjective judgment as an amount that will keep our organization in the black, out of the red through the year, and that any unexpected expenses that come up, we should be able to cover with those funds. And as we get into production, oftentimes there are additional expenses that were not foreseen that we need to have in order to make that a viable production. So even though we project 13%, there will be unexpected expenses during the year that will bring that down. But my feeling, our standpoint, and our experience is that is a rational amount to go into the year with. As you have pointed out, during the past year, SECC was honored to win the Overall Excellence in Educational Access Award at the National Federation of Local Cable Programmers Hometown Video Festival. This recognition culminates 6 years of tremendous growth and positive support from the Sacramento educational community, and SECC is proud to be named the best in the country. I also recall when you were working with Sacramento Cable Television and the courts were alive with various actions, that one of the things that held up final agreement was the $300,000 that you were negotiating to get equipment for SECC so that we could have interactive studios. And I realized that it took 3 days or so of additional negotiation, but many of you held firm. And from my standpoint, that was a right decision, because if you had not done that, we would not have had the studios and all of the facilities that we do have now to produce that programming that allowed the recognition for SECC's performance for last year. So for the tough times during those negotiating periods, thank you all very much for holding tough and giving us the ability to be able to create educational programming for the community. Now, this year, SECC created a new and productive partnership with the San Juan Unified School District in the opening of a joint venture video facility, which will be used to bring live high school credit courses to the entire Sacramento community. It will also be used to encourage video production by high school students and teamwork between students and the faculty. SECC also partnered with Elk Grove in the opening of a video facility funded primarily by a grant from the state of California. SECC is working cooperatively in making the facility live to cable via a microwave path. This facility will also be used to bring live junior high and high school classes to the Sacramento community. And as I understand it, the signal originates at Elk Grove, then it goes to Cosumnes River, and then over to CSUS, where it is then piped into the head end of Sacramento Cable Television. Again, an example where you need the cooperation of many institutions to make a system like this work. Also, during the past year, SECC has offered more courses for credit than ever before. More than 1,200 cable subscribers are currently enrolled in these cable classes. SECC has continued to expand and improve its local programming available to the Sacramento community. The past year reflects the tremendous growth in college courses, in-service classes, after-school tutoring, in-school curriculum-oriented programming, teleconferences, adult education, and lifelong learning programs offered on our two cable channels of 21 and 22. Now, if we were to look ahead into the year of 1991 and 92, there are three main areas where we're going to concentrate our efforts. The first is partnerships, the second is locally produced programs, and the third is student productions and programs. We'll continue to have partnerships with the California Department of Education, the cable grantees themselves, and the Sacramento Metropolitan Cable Television Commission. We will continue to work cooperatively with Sacramento Cable Television, bringing valuable programs to the homes and the classrooms. Also, SECC is very pleased to congratulate Sacramento Cable and Kim Ruckert for encouraging Scripps Howard to join the national educational cable effort of Cable in the Classroom. This will provide additional resources for the Sacramento community. And some of the most exciting news for this next year is Sacramento Cable's leadership in developing a plan to organize a community effort to place cable, television, and a video cassette recorder in every K through 12 classroom in the Sacramento Cable service area. SECC and the entire educational community appreciates Sacramento Cable's efforts and insight into the major stumbling block of using cable in the classroom. We will continue to work cooperatively with businesses like Intel, Charter Hospital, and the Interactive Network to bring additional resources for unique programs to Sacramento. And I will say that the business community, I feel, has been very cooperative in the past in assisting us fund a number of our programs. We're looking to the coming year for the advent of many new series, and a few of them are listed here. The first is Trouble in River City, Charting a Course for Change. This is a federally funded, locally produced series dealing with substance abuse education for families. And you have this brochure in your packet. There were 50,000 of these that were mailed out. Journey Through Time, A Story Well Told, is a locally produced staff development series exploring the new California history social science framework and will be offered by California State University, Sacramento for credit. And that is listed in the attached guide, which is also in your packet. Two live programs from San Juan will be coming forth. One is Calculus A and B. It's a live high school credit course. And also from San Juan, another live high school credit course, Economics. And from Elk Grove, Ask a Friend, a live high school credit course produced by Elk Grove, and it's for homework assistance. And the Elk Grove Unified School District funds it along with the California Department of Education. Now, finishing out with new facilities, the ones that are operated in San Juan and Elk Grove, SECC members will concentrate on involving students in video production. Many unique programs are planned with students playing key roles in cooperative learning situations with faculty and other students. And unique curriculum for these types of programs have been developed by many SECC members. I would simply add to my remarks on equipment acquisition and replacement that during the past 4 years we have purchased video production equipment and placed it in production facilities at California State University, Sacramento, the Sacramento County Office of Education, San Juan High School, and the SECC offices. And the facilities at CSUS and San Juan are joint ventures between SECC and those institutions. And part of the rationale in placing the facilities at these sites was the recognition that SECC would not have the funds to replace all of the equipment until 1993-94, and that these institutions then would assist in the maintenance and the upkeep. And in addition, both facilities have additional equipment which, with our established agreements and compensation, could be made available for SECC use. We've projected the minimum life expectancy, and I should repeat, minimum life expectancy on our earliest purchases to be fiscal year 93-94. In anticipation of this, as I've mentioned before, we've also started an equipment replacement fund, which will be continued from year to year. In just a moment, I will be asking you to use the rollers on your chair and twist your neck around to see a very short videotape which we've brought along. But first, I'd like to conclude my previous remarks by saying that the number of program hours SECC is bringing to Sacramento through its membership is impressive, but more important, SECC is excited and enthusiastic about the service that is provided to this community through the combined efforts of the Sacramento Metropolitan Cable Television Commission, Sacramento Cable Television, and the entire SECC membership. And so, to all of you, we appreciate your continued support. Now, in just a moment, our key grip will be starting the tape behind you. New this year on SECC channels is a live interactive program produced in the SECC San Juan facility. The program, entitled Let's Talk Education, is hosted by San Juan Superintendent George Jeffers and will deal with educational issues. And so today, we'd like to show you a short promotional spot which was made at San Juan with the combination SECC San Juan facilities. And this promotional spot is for that new series, Let's Talk Education.
There's a new show in town. It's on an award-winning station. Produced by an award-winning staff. From award-winning schools. A live audience. Provocative guests. Controversial topics. They're all a compelling invitation to Let's Talk Education.
That was it, the program. No. It's a teaser. Yeah. You want it. All right.
Thank you, Liz.
Thank you.
Let me finally point out another very important document, and that is Sacramento Cable Television's Educator's Guide, which they distribute. That is in your packet, and in the center of it is the insert for the Sacramento Educational Cable Consortium, channels 21 and 22.
Jay, the commentary on the TV mentioned interactive TV. We have no time for details, but is this going to be a continuous type of programming there?
Yes, it will be, which means that from the San Juan facility, just like all of the other interactive classrooms, it goes out live. There is a phone number or phone numbers that are listed, and anybody out in the audience can feel free to call in and ask questions of the speaker, whether it be the superintendent or any of the guests on those programs. And I think this is an excellent example of how communities and specifically educational institutions can use cable television as a tool.
It's a real stride forward.
Yes, it is.
To do it.
Yes, it is. And we expect to do it into the future. And I guess if our reserve is big enough, we'll continue to do it this coming year, too.
Are there questions or comments?
Sounds like then I've answered most of your questions right at first.
We appreciate all the information.
Good work, Dave.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good work, Liz.
Thank you, Terry.
Thank you, Jay.
I'm still waiting for Chinese and Spanish, though. I couldn't find it anywhere in the whole program. Thank you.
Do you want to respond in Chinese?
Mandarin, please, Mandarin.
Well, let me say, as we're more successful in bringing in monies from businesses in the Sacramento area, then we will be able to extend the programming, and we will be able to bring in those kinds of courses and programs that you and others in the community would like.
Thank you.
I'd like to back up now to a presentation from the RCC TV representative, Don Fullhouse. Would you come forward, please?
Actually, we'd like to start with Pam Peters, who is the program director for RCC.
A little louder, please, and address the mic more
She's
closely.
been here before.
You don't remember.
I remember.
Thank you.
As I said, we'd like to start with Pam Peters, who is the program director for RCC TV.
And we do like applause, so at this time I'd like you to put your hands together for the Sacramento Cable Commission. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Thank you, and giving honor to the Sacramento Cable Commission. Without you, we couldn't be and wouldn't be here. And just for the record, I'm Pamela Peters, Program Director of RCC TV. And this is Ron. You can put your hands together once again. Ron Holhouse, our Executive Director of the Interfaith Service Bureau. Don't be shy. We all know each other here. Okay, the RCC TV, just for the record, stands for the Religious Coalition for Cable Television. And smile when you say that. Religious Coalition for Cable Television. And Religious Coalition for Cable Television, what we represent, what we stand for, our whole purpose for being here is to meet the spiritual needs of this community, to encourage, strengthen, and develop the spiritual needs. That means everyone, because our programming includes Protestant, Catholic, Jewish. I told you this before. She's smiling at me. She remembers it. And it remains the same. And I'm glad I said that, because our purposes, even though each year we come together and share our new goals for the up-and-coming year, there are some goals that remain the same. And we intend to always, 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 long time, continue to meet the spiritual needs of this community and be the place that people come as the station of choice for religious and community programming. Hold your applause. Some of our goals for the up-and-coming year include working in conjunction with production companies to produce programs for local organizations so that we can increase the use of our station. And we also want to promote videos, create videos that promote the station, I should say, to explain the importance of and impact of religious television, and so they can know how accessible it is to their church or church group. Also, we plan to make more programs that are geared toward the future of the community by airing programs such as religious news briefs and special environmental concerns. And we expect to expand our hours to at least 152 hours in the next year of local programming. All of it is because we want, as we let the community know what our services are, then they will utilize the station more and more. So to dispel some of the myths and concerns about RCC TV, as a result of the Interfaith Service Bureau making a move, a physical move to another location, our building is currently up for sale, I am here to say RCC TV plans to continue on a long-term basis to meet the spiritual needs of this community. And you ask how long? Go ahead and ask me, how long? How long? As long as it takes, as long as there are problems in the community, we are here to meet the spiritual. As long as there's concern about AIDS, as long as there's fear, as long as there are problems with divorce and other concerns in our community, our CCTV is here to let people know we're still here. We're not asking the religious groups to agree, and RCCTV is a place where religious freedom can find expression, regardless of what your preference is. There is freedom to express your own theology and your own doctrine, and we're not asking people to agree. I mean, we can't get two people to agree. You think about marriage, it's hard enough to get two people to agree on anything. We're not asking people to agree. We're just asking the churches and different producers to respect the integrity of the viewer, to make their own choice, and to agree to disagree agreeably. And that means without necessarily judging one another, but just learning to respect what we've learned from each other and love each other in spite of it. That's what RCC TV is all about. And recently, we've incorporated Vision, which is a 24-hour interfaith satellite network representing 54 various faith groups. Again, including Catholic, Presbyterian, all of you, every last one of you. And we intend to continue meeting the spiritual needs of this community as long as there is a need to. And that's why we're here. So our focus this year is more towards the youth, because we feel we have met the needs of the elderly and the middle-aged, and we want to concentrate more on the youth. So as long as there is divorce, the youth need us. As long as there's AIDS and drugs and alcohol and children who are running away and people who need money, help managing their money, and kids who have problems of all kinds, that's RCCTV plans to be here. So, like I said, our focus this year is mainly with youth, because even when they're concerned about their pimples, RCCTV wants them to know that we're here to help them to know that they're not alone, and they can turn to RCCTV Channel 20 to meet their needs. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Any questions?
Is this budget real?
Yes, it's for real. That's all.
Wow.
As you know, RCCTV receives no money from the commission.
Right.
We operate solely. We operate solely on donations from those organizations that show tapes or those organizations that want to support RCCTV. We also receive small donations from a bulletin board that we run in between the cable feed and the local programming. Such as Pam was talking before, we're increasing local programming by approximately over 150 hours this year, and that doesn't seem to be a lot of hours, but given our budget and given the constriction of our facilities and our equipment and so forth, and you look at the number of hours that we have been doing, which is around 11 per week, that's quite an increase for us. We also this year, for additional financing, will be looking for grants from various national religious organizations, probably grants to purchase equipment needed to increase our abilities. We at the Interfaith Service Bureau are embarking upon an aggressive recognition campaign, even though the Interfaith Service Bureau has been around for over 70 years in this community and in various names.
Definitely.
Over the past 5-6 years or so, our participation in the community has been less than what it was prior to that. And we're looking at an aggressive campaign to get the word out and news out about the Interfaith Service Bureau, and as RCCTV as a program of the Interfaith Service Bureau, along with 4 other programs, they will all benefit from that recognition and effort.
How, just in terms of procedure, then you have to have a board of directors that really has to help make some decisions about, I call it the gatekeeper. It has to be somebody who does the programming, that has to mesh all the different interests. And in terms of thinking just in local programming and trying to figure out your abilities to do that in a very limited, extremely limited budget. And I'm making an assumption that any different group, whether that is Buddhist, Christian, Jewish, that would have programs of interest, even if they were to do their own video or produce their own programs, would they come to your board and make a presentation and try to attain time to go on for your programming?
We consider that to be an operational issue, not so much tied to a board, such as, let me lay out the way in which this is constructed here. The board of directors of the Interfaith Service Bureau is the only board that we have. Okay. They make decisions affecting the whole of the Interfaith Service Bureau, such as approving budgets like the one you see before you, as well as the other 4 programs, obviously. Our board is represented by as many faith communities as we can put on it. And we specifically try to do that so that we get a good cross-section. But as far as a faith community or religious group coming to RCC TV to show their programs that they have had produced or looking for help in producing, which we Pam and the staff of RCC TV, all 2 of you.
Got the energy for 2.
That's true. And in her, Pam works for 16 hours paid time a week and puts in double that, as do several other people. The other component is an advisory board, also made up of individuals more interested in media and promotion and getting the word out about their religious communities. Okay, those are the individuals that meet on a monthly basis, well, as does our board, but they meet on a monthly basis, and they are more directly connected with the programming aspects of RCC TV, about outreach, about getting as many, faith communities as we possibly can. We have Catholics, we have all the denominations of the Protestant religion, we have Buddhists, and we have Sikhs, and we're searching for anybody else out there in the community that wants to participate in both ISB and RCC TV. Does that help?
Yeah, I'd like to add to that. Basically, in answer to your question, if you were to bring a program idea or a program to us, we would preview it and make sure it meets the requirements of the contract. That is, no soliciting for funds on the air and other basic requirements, and that it's a good quality tape. If it isn't a good quality tape, I happen to be technically inclined, so I can help producers or prospective producers to clean up any problems they're having in producing. We preview the tape, and then we set them up to air, as long as if they don't criticize any other denomination or religion on the air, and it's basically in line with our goal, that is to build up, strengthen, and encourage this community spiritually, then we air the program.
I was thinking of it in terms, too, of in some of the programming, when I'm going through and I'm looking at some of the different access stations and Religious Coalition and Education Coalition, what some of the programming looks like, and I'm assuming it's fairly broad, that sometimes it can be discussion, sometimes it's ceremony, sometimes it's different. And I was thinking of, particularly when I'm looking at local, I was in my mind as you were talking, I was thinking of 2 that I've attended recently that would give a glimpse to the rest of the community at some of the diversity that's in the community. And one involved Buddhist, which happens on a yearly basis, which doesn't happen in many American cities. It certainly happens here, which is the Karonagashi, which takes place on the American River, where they recreate the ceremony and the little paper lanterns go down the river. It's a very moving, very wonderful ceremony, and something that would have to be professionally done, though, I think, to be done right, because of the time of day, it's night when that takes place, but would be a glimpse of something that would be unique and fairly unique to Sacramento. And the other just involved probably the most unique groundbreaking I've ever been to, and when St. Paul's was breaking ground in Oak Park in terms of the huge celebration that they put on that day. It's probably about a 3-hour celebration, but it certainly was something that other Sacramentans probably really didn't have a feel for the different types of things that take place locally. And what I was trying to figure out for many of the local groups who might be interested in local programming, whether they should try to contact you, try to contact Access Sacramento, just from the standpoint that it helps the community define itself when it sees the diversity that's happening within its boundaries.
We consider ourselves working in conjunction with Access in the sense that we encourage people and send groups to Access to get their programs produced because we don't have the facilities to help them produce programs. But yes, that is the kind of programming we'd love to have more of on our CCTV, and it's a matter of getting our funds together to promote the station, because as I say, when people know we're here, they'll utilize the station more, and we just want to get the word out that we're here.
You know, I have to say, just thinking and sitting here is way back when we were putting all of this together. You know, this was the dream that we kept saying that this community was very different than most communities, and there was a lot going on, and they had the ability to do a lot of local programming and the need to do a lot of local programming. And sitting here today with all of these coming back, I mean, it's just a wonderful feeling because we fought to have this kind of program within this community, and I just can't think that there's a single person in this community that cannot think that it has been a tremendous success at all levels. And it's just a really good feeling to know that you've all succeeded, you've all gotten wonderful awards, and the things that you do make the quality of life in the community far, far, far better.
We have filled all of our hours of local programming. We have a waiting list of people who are trying to organize themselves enough to produce programs to air on channel. So we're happy about it.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Any other question or comment?
I would like to ask if RCC would help the county with their budget next year. I would like you to come help the county with the budget next year.
He wants to accomplish a lot on 23,000 next year.
Yes, true.
Yes, I know it.
Don't forget to make out your checks.
We come now to the close of the presentations under item number 2. We shall file these grantee presentations. We're now ready to adopt a resolution approving the 1991-92 annual budget and programming plans for KVIE, KXPR, Access, and SECC. Is there someone who wishes to make them?
Mr. Chairman, including also RCCTV.
Beg pardon?
And to include also RCCTV. Their submission was late.
Is it in our resolution?
Yeah.
It's in the addendum presented for the meeting.
If you make a motion to include that when I final resolution.
Yeah, I'm happy to move the motion.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that this resolution be adopted. Let's call the roll.
Grantland Johnson? Smith?
Aye.
Collins?
Yes.
Roby?
Aye.
Strang?
Aye.
Farah?
Aye.
Costanza?
Aye.
Fletcher?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Item number 3, a report back on viewership survey. We'll accept a brief report if you wish to make any comment.
This report is essentially to Mrs. Collin regarding the confidence level of our viewership survey. We may be better off looking at Channel 22 Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays for literacy and statistics. Essentially, the confidence level of our survey is very good at the aggregate, and at the second level down, as reported in the staff report, is still excellent. As we drop below that, the survey confidence drops off. I've summarized in the report the major findings relative to the government channel, and be happy to address any questions.
Okay, and I was interested that it said that it was intended to provide only baseline viewership, and it indicated in here some of the reasons why there would be a confidence level. And the only thing I didn't really see in here compared to what some of my concerns were, because we probably didn't ask the question, was they feel they got a cross section of Sacramento, both the city and the county, and across income levels. And I don't know if they meant across racial levels and everything else, but what was interesting to me was just to try to find out in some sort of a baseline way and whether we're getting an increasing number of viewers that they're just not able to reach. And I'm thinking about the number of people who screen calls, who don't participate. And I don't know how you ever get a handle on that. You know, all I can go by is you say in here that they are convinced that they got a cross-section of the demographics of the city and the county.
Right, we compared the percentages in the population that we sampled against the whole population on a tabular spreadsheet that was presented by the company that did the sample selection from the phone numbers. And they were for the items that we checked, they were all reasonably within acceptable, they were within acceptable tolerance to the whole. We saw no skewing that our survey randomly picked up a higher population versus another population. But we did not cluster to focus on subgroups and answer data about them.
Any other comment or question? The report will be filed. Item number 4.
Thank you very much.
Staff status report.
Briefly, the staff status report is as follows, or as written, with one addition to paragraph 6, which is last week we were approached by the George School of Law, who was hosting a debate on the Judge Thomas appointment. The debate met the standards we use for our own debates relative to the Legal Women Voters process and procedure. And we're currently running that on our channel. We'll increase the advertising of it, and we'll continue to run it through the appointment consideration process by the Senate. Under our policies, I need to report that to you. Basically, I designated ourselves as the proponent and ran it on our channel. It's an excellent video. And secondly, just to comment on the channel managers have been working together since our survey came out on a combined joint community programming guide. And we're hopeful now that we can put it together for next month. Our goal was to increase the exposure of all of the channels, basically by cross-mailing to each other's mailing lists at no additional cost in the aggregate. And I believe we're there. I look to be distributing 7,500 guides being distributed, including all of the community channels. For us, with the government channel, that means that it would be 7,500 rather than the 2,200 that we currently distribute to, with no increase in cost. We've got a meeting next week to finalize, and we'll continue to fine-tune, but we're looking at continuing that throughout the year. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any other questions regarding the staff status report.
I don't have any questions. I just like to say that I'm very happy to hear about that program, guys, because even for me, it's very hard to keep track of what's going on. We don't watch television very much.
No, we don't.
Most of us, but
Right, and each of you were on the mailing list for all of the entities, so you were getting multiple ones. This should consolidate it into one form in a grid format that hopefully will be easy to read. And we've also made arrangements to continue the narrative sections as you see in each of the individual ones now.
Other question or comment?
No, except that I noticed in here that Assemblyman Conley did request information, which you responded to, and I think which is a common complaint and concern, and that's the one that's on page 2 on our authority. What could we do about the cable franchises that remove some, in this case, C-SPAN and CalSPAN from limited basic? And I think your response was, we don't have that power. And I think in that one case, I might have less enthusiasm for wanting to regulate rates at a local level, because that gets into a very difficult question of how you can determine what kind of profit people can make, et cetera, et cetera. I have more concern over this kind of no regulatory powers. The reason I feel strongly about it is the fact that in all the original franchising that went on all across the United States, one of the things that this operator, as well as other operators, did do was provide to the local officials what kind of services they would offer this community in terms of basic service and what would really be considered tier service, etc. And so, I think that there is a real case of deception of local government occurs when an industry comes in and does that kind of merchandising to communities all over the United States at the same time that they're, of course, lobbying to have all the power taken away to enforce what they have promised to communities. And so this kind of problem just highlights, I think, the real problems in the cable industry in terms of the way they're viewed by local communities and local officials, because they do have the authority, because of the regulation taken away from local officials, to just move things around on those tiers out of all proportion to what they promised the local community going in. And like I say, I'm not one of those local officials who really wants to get into rate regulation, but I do think we ought to be able to regulate on promised tiers and the way that they follow through on their commitments to communities once they're in a community.
Just a comment to Rich, you might want to follow up with Mayor Rudin. We had a conversation the other day regarding federal legislation and the regulation of cable television at the federal level. There is an emphasis with the National League, I guess the U.S. Congress of Mayors, for getting active in this regard. And I spoke to her about that and told her that you would give her a call regarding this commission's position on legislation, the resolutions we've passed, and the communication we have made to the various organizations supporting that.
Recall that we have adopted the NLC policies. We are active. You all signed the first time a joint letter between the Conference of Mayors, NACO, and the National League of Cities. So
yeah, well, I wish you'd remind the mayor of what we've done and go over that with us, please.
Thank you.
Let's move now to item number 5, Sacramento Cable Status Report. Kim Rookie. Welcome.
Good afternoon.
Hi.
Okay. Well, first of all, I think it's been a great day for programming, obviously, and I too would like to congratulate RCC, SEC, Public Access, KVIE, and the great job that they've always done, and further support our position with education in the classroom, supporting education. And I noticed that during the presentation, SECC also had their flyer inside our guide, which we're providing to 7,000 teachers still, and will continue to, so that they can use cable TV as a learning tool, not just an entertainment tool. Before I go into the status report, I would like to introduce a new face to our director family, and that is Dave McVickers. If you'd stand up, please. Dave is our new Director of Human Resources that we've hired in recent months, and he is in charge, obviously, of human resources along with safety and security in our system. He has 20 years of experience in human resources, master's degree from the University of Redlands, is previous Director of Human Resources for Formica, and is very active in United Way and very active in Junior Achievement. And of course, the reason that we hired him is that we have a great group of employees that is getting greater and greater as the days go by. We are up in the area of 400 employees, and we do see it growing to as many as 600 and 700 and 800 employees over the next 4 and 5 years, when we grow to probably close to 325,000 customers. And obviously, bringing Dave on board brings the stability that we need to direct the activities within the organization, and we're proud to have him on board. And so as the days go by and the years go by, if there are any needs that you need addressed concerning human resources, safety, or security within our system, there's a gentleman that you would address it to. Thanks, Dave. As far as our progress report is concerned, I'm very glad to report that both Rich and Brent and myself and Cindy Simonson have been meeting, or have met, really to try to get a clearer working understanding of the regulations, and to try and see if we can iron out some rough areas. And I think we had a very excellent meeting. We are doing very well. Our second quarter, we're proud to announce that we only had 131 complaints to the Cable Commission. That is about 50% of the complaints that we had even a year ago. That means that the Cable Commission is really receiving about, 1 to 2 complaints a day, which are, I believe, are being resolved expeditiously. And the customers seem to be extremely pleased with our response and the response of the Commission. That is, to put it in perspective, because we would like to see no complaints a day would be the record that someday we will report. But that is in relationship to 350 to 400 installs a day, 1,000 service calls a day, and dealing on a ratio of 270,000 customers and 200,000 calls a month. That is a pretty remarkable achievement, and I feel like my staff and the employees that work at Sacramento Cable are doing an excellent job. As you can see, we did give you a phone report, and the phone report is for the entire month of August. And I'm again glad to announce that a year ago we had a hold time of 3 minutes. Right now we're at 67 seconds. Our objective as a company with its guidelines is to be at 30 seconds or less. And of course, as we committed through our guidelines on July 1st, we would be at 2 minutes on July 1st, and being at 67 seconds. This is not a 15-day report. This is every day in the month of August. That takes into account every up and down, every peak and valley, every kind of channel change or anything that we would be doing, all calls coming through the office. We also indicated that we were going to be able to get pay-per-view and other A&I services activated, and I believe the deadline date there was July 1st. I'm proud to announce that we do have A&I activated and currently on hand. Pay-per-view customers are able to access the A&I service within 2 seconds. That's great because it takes a lot of the volume out of the telephone calls, because if you remember back a year ago, some 40% of our total calls were pay-per-view generated calls. Now they're dealt with through a computer. Another handout that we have provided you, we made a commitment in July that we would be able to have at least 2 sites available, including our service lot, in addition to our service lobby, for customers to access and take care of business, and for that purpose of returning boxes and also to take care of payments. This is a further commitment from SCT. We now have 6 sites throughout the city for box return and payments, and 12 sites for payments only. So we far exceeded what we expected we would be able to do within that time period. As far as the July 1st date for an outage module, it is completed and active, so we are able to track through the computer our outages and track our performance in the system. A couple of things that need to be pointed out too. From an operational point of view, I indicated that we would do same-day installs. Well, we're not only doing same-day installs, but we're doing almost 20% of our daily activity is in the same day. Our commitment to 36-hour service calls, meaning calls for service within 36 hours, are within that area of 36 hours. And of course, the internal objective of our employees and the management is all service within 24 hours. So we're not only moving towards, we've exceeded what we said as our guidelines and shooting for new guidelines now. We don't have always positive things to respond to, and the only negative that I can really see right now is that we indicated that by July 1st we would be at 3% of our customer calls would be service calls, and our service calls would be down to 3%. But I am happy to announce that they are at 3.5%, so we're moving in that area. We will be asking the Commission and Richard and everybody to come out to the office sometime in the next few months when we open up and dedicate our new lobby and our new customer service center. We've developed new training centers. We have new breaking facilities for our people. We've built a new office for the customers to come into. We'll have drive-through windows in addition to the 12 other locations. We'll have within our area for payments a child center where the children can play while their parents are doing business with us. And there'll be quite a few other exciting things in that respect. And that's a several hundred thousands of dollar investment that we have made, not only to do good business, but to treat our customers with the respect that they so deserve. Other than just the normal internal construction, I am pleased to tell you that we have approved we are going to do fiber optic distribution from our TVRO site to our head end, which will give better picture quality, and it'll also improve future capacity in the system. And we will also be, because of the complaints that I feel are more than usually should be expected, we will be fibering the entire hub from our head end site to Galt, so that we do not have, and it'll be a 100% fiber interconnect, because they have a tremendous wind problem there. And we have tried everything we possibly can, but when the wind starts whipping, the cable becomes cracked and the quality of service is poorer than we would like to see. So we will, in 1992, fiber all of the run to Galt. And then, of course, in future years, we will be looking at fiber backup distribution to all of our hub sites, all 7 hub sites. And when that is done, then, of course, our channel capacity, phone capacity, and any other type of business we would like to do would be possible, basically. So that is something in the future. But as for the women and the men that work for our company, I even gave them first billing this time. I'm not going back to the office and not do that. But as for the women and the men of our company, we're extremely pleased with our performance in the first half of the year. And we are dedicated to serving this community and the customers in this area. Thank you. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question. I just had a real quick question. How did you distribute to get the information out about these different sites for service, for payment, and for returning equipment?
It's basically done on the volume of customers in the area based on its basic contiguous to our cable customers, and where we could get the most impact, plus wherever Bel Air is located, that they will work with us.
But how did you get the information to your customers that these services were available?
Well, we do this through either mailings or through the character-generated messages on the cable system.
And have people used these services pretty well?
Oh, yes.
To check?
Cindy, do you have the statistics on that? No. On the use of it? What volume of our... We can get that for you, though.
Well, I'd be interested in knowing how people, if they're using this. And one of the reasons is a lot of the South area, there are neighborhoods where people really can't get out of those neighborhoods easily. Mm-hmm. I'd be interested in knowing whether they're aware of these services or they're using them.
Certainly for payment, I'm sure they are, though, because Bel Air has big signs up.
They do.
All their markets, so I'm sure, they're right there where everybody has to go through anyway. So.
I'm just interested. If it's easy, I'd like to see it.
Well, obviously, we've had payment centers, but it's been expanding greatly, and the reason for it is because we frankly have that same problem. Pell Drive is not very accessible for the majority of our customers, so obviously we are aware of that. And I will tell you, there have been isolated instances where our men have physically gone out, picked up payments, had no charge from indigent people and people that can't get in, or of course, taking care of their service as needed. But we do make exceptions to the rule as time goes by.
You were out of the room when I did compliment you on the
Thank you.
The channel light up, and so some of my comments about the cable industry are not directed at you personally. I just have some very strong feelings towards the industry as an industry when it's in growing up stage. But I had a question relating to changes of service after a rate increase is announced. If you have people who, in response to the rate increase, want to decrease their service, is there a time, or is there a time in our customer service regs where they have the ability to do that with no charge? Because I understand you do have a charge when they change services. If you want
The answer is yes.
How
And,
does that work?
well, the regs say one thing, but the way that we have done it, and we will be doing it in October when we raise our rates, is to provide 60 days past that date.
Past the October 1st date.
Past the October 1st date.
So the people who call in before October 1st are going to get charged if they change service.
Yes, and it's very unlikely that we don't have many people drop service prior to a rate increase. They usually do it once the rate increase is implemented.
I think you mailed out announcements to homes because I did get questions, and my advice to callers was that had to be clarified as to what your policy was going to be and what our regulations said, but I thought they had a grace period of at least 30 days, but I thought 30 days started after the rate became effective, so that if they called now upon getting that letter, they would be charged. But I didn't have time to check that with anyone.
Our regulations specify that there would be a 30-day advance notice to the increase, and from the notice, there's 60 days to downgrade without fee because of the increase.
Okay, so they've now been notified there's going to be an increase. So you're saying that under our regulations, if they phone in now and cancel a service, I don't mean the whole service, I'm talking about if they made partial cancellation. Under our regs, it would be free?
That's correct.
Okay, and that would go for 30, how many days?
For 60 days from the notice.
So if they phoned in now, it would go through October 1st and beyond then.
November 1st.
And part of our discussions that we've had and that we're working through right now is that basically it is not beneficial prior to, because frankly they've never experienced any kind of hit to their bill as far as increasing their amount. Therefore, there's no real need for them until the rate increase goes into effect to downgrade their service. Therefore, instead of activating and giving free service to people that would normally spin within the normal month and create a lot of expense for the company, then there is no reason to acknowledge prior to, but rather extend it from the point of the rate increase on, so that once the bill comes in and they say, well, I'm not going to pay that, I would like to drop my guide for $2 a month or whatever, then we would provide that downgrade service for free for the first 60 days.
I'm frankly looking forward to that change, because I did find that an annoyance, Kim, because I recently changed premium service, and I was annoyed at the $5 charge.
Sure.
And I, in essence, did do exactly that. I dropped the cable guide. I mean, it is punitive, and I'm glad to see that you're going to make a change in that policy.
Well, I don't think there's no change.
Oh, yes, there is. That is a change.
There was.
Yes, there is a
change. You're going to change period? You're going to wipe it all out?
Prior to the regulations, we would have charged it down. Last year, when we took our rate increase, if you downgraded, we would be charged. And what we're doing now is from the date of the rate increase, for 60 days, we are not going to charge a downgrade fee to people that are downgrading from their service.
See, it's only for those 60 days from the time they announce the increase, and our staff is saying
no, that's what the staff says. From the date of the notification.
The company's operating the basis that the downgrade fee is waived from the day the increase goes into effect for 60 days. Our regulations are from the date of the announcement for 60 days. Without your authorization, we don't intend on changing.
That would be better.
I've had 2 complaints since the announcement last week exactly on this issue.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's the call to my office too, because they don't want to be charged for downgrading. They've now been noticed that they're going to get an increase, and so they're exercising their option. They want to drop the premium service, or they want to drop a few other things. I just did not really know how to answer, except to say.
Well, for example, in November, this is well after decision. In November, will you charge for a change in services?
No.
How about
that's within 60 days. December 1st, I will charge.
The problem
so December 1st, you will.
Yes, on an October 1st rate increase, October and November would not be charged to the customer for downgrading their service, but December 1st it will be.
Our regulations say they've now been noticed. If they start changing now until October 1st, they should be getting it free. And
yes, we are in violation of that, and actually it would be to our advantage to do that, because Actually, what I'm doing is a greater favor to the consumer than what the regulations are doing. And the reason for that is very, very few people ever downgrade service until the rate increase actually goes into effect. And if we take the date of notification, that would mean we would no longer provide, we would start charging a downgrade fee about 2 weeks after the rate increase, because we notified them almost 5 weeks ago. So it was from the point of notification 60 days. That would only allow them approximately 3 weeks.
People complaining to our commission in terms of we got charged and we're not supposed to be charged by our own regulations. So I think we're going to be between a rock and a hard place, Kim.
Yeah, Kim, I don't agree with you either.
I think what he's saying is right. I know a lot of people, until they get the bill, until they actually see that the charge is going up, they're not going to think about downgrading. So
But how about the ones who have? And now we're going to get charged for it, and under our regulations,
I think we have to advise them that what the company is saying is that you have to wait until this thing goes into effect before you downgrade.
Yes, we've done.
Otherwise,
We've advised people to make the service change effective the date of the increase, which comes in the goal.
Okay, that's
in the one instance where the subscriber did know what would be on their bill, there's a complaint pending with the company, and it's been out there since last Monday. That we'll see what the response is since Tuesday, and we'll see how Sac Cable addresses it. There are not many relative to what we have, but not many people know. We did in the press reports try to emphasize that point, that consumers do have the option to reevaluate their service and adjust accordingly.
I have another point.
Go ahead.
Changing the subject somewhat, Kim, on your payments to be made, your stations, there are no stations at all in the vicinity of Highway 99 and Mack Road, or anywhere near Meadowview or 24th Street. The 1301 Florin Road is close to I-5, and there's nothing in South Sacramento in the vicinity of 99. So I encourage you to look at that area, and if you would like some specific addresses, there are several check cashing places. Good. Along with markets in that vicinity that I could suggest to you. But that's a void, I think, in this service.
Well, please understand, Terry, that that we committed to having 2 payment centers, and we're trying to get way beyond that. And the more we can have, we definitely would like to see our money on time and not have to roll a truck for a disconnect. And so, obviously, to make it convenient for payments, even in the South, every district, it's important. So we would welcome your recommendations.
And I do have some good news. I did put one of your employees did I did applaud this person that I called. I needed a service call, and I got the request to hold. So I put my speakerphone and I left the room. And I came back, and your person was waiting for me.
Thank goodness.
I said, that's nice of you. She said, well, yes, she said, many times we make people hold, so on occasion we will hold for people too. And I thought that was pretty cool.
I hope that was jokingly said too. I would like to take an opportunity, though, because this downgrade fee seems to be something that is a misunderstanding. This downgrade fee is certainly entitled, and it is in a form, in my deepest form, a rate regulatory type of issue. But let me explain why we feel that this fee is so important. First of all, a downgrade first of all, we do not charge to disconnect, period. That has never been charged. So there's a difference between downgrading and disconnecting. A person that downgrades is a customer that's been on the service with, let's say, basic and HBO, and he elects to drop HBO to lower their bill. We don't have a problem with that. The problem is that we charge $5 for the downgrade fee because we pay HBO for every subscriber, whether they've been on and they came on, let's say, in this case, September the 29th, or they came on September the 1st, or they came on September the 15th, and we do prorate their bill. For instance, the customer would only pay for the dates of service. Let's say if they came on board, we would pay the licensing fee for that customer, whether they were on for 1 day or for 30 days. So obviously, it's totally unfair to the company to be charged for a customer that on the 29th day drops service, or even on the first day drops service, when we have had to pay for that customer for the whole month, but we've only collected from that person 1 day of service or 1 week of service, and that is all. And when they disconnect, they disconnect at any time that they want to. So I've paid the bill, and my bill, I can tell you, not including the time, the computer time, and all the processing time associated with it, the time and the fee that I pay to the premium services are in excess of $5. And I think that as a business, we're certainly entitled, if we have to pay for a customer that has been on the service for 1 day or 30 days, we have to pay for that full level of service for the whole month, whether they've been on 1 day or 30 days. And we prorate, but we're not entitled to prorate expense. We can't do that. And so the customer must pay for the services that they are being rendered, and if they elect to disconnect, they should be charged a fee to disconnect. And why should the company lose money on a $7 product and have to pay more money than what we're entitled to for giving them the service?
Well, Kim, I don't mean to be argumentative, but that when you take the individual customer, that might be the case. But when you're talking about over 200,000 subscribers, and they're all paying the bills that we're paying for cable television, it certainly seems to me that your company could absorb the cost of changing services, particularly from customers like me, who've been a customer of yours for over 5 years. When I want to make a change in service, and I'm given a $5 bill just because I wanted to change because I wasn't watching a particular premium channel. It seems to me that's the cost of doing business that your company ought to, and not come back to us and take it on a case-for-case point that says you've got a right to collect that fee. That's, I mean, we're not checking on your income. We're not finding out how much you're making in profit. You're not reporting those statements to us. Therefore, how can you come back and tell us that you have to pass those charges on? I think that's inconsistent, and you have to stop and think that's what it costs to do business, and that's no big deal.
Well, Terry, I beg to differ. First of all, I don't think that that you are a typical case, and I cannot go out there and look at individual people, whether or not a customer's been on HBO or Showtime for 3 years consistently, and they disconnect on the 15th of the month. I still have to pay for the entire month. And the cost of doing business, I'm not so concerned about you, Terry Castanis, as I'm concerned about the approximate 35,000 people a month, or 30% of our customers through a everyday attrition who come on board, buy a service, and then quickly spin it off because they want to watch a movie or to see Mr. Hearns fight or see some major event that's costing us a fortune. And then all of a sudden I have a surge of customers the day before HBO has a major fighting event, and then all of a sudden I have a surge of downgrade fees, a surge of downgrade because they wanted to disconnect the next day.
I agree with you, Kim, because I can give examples. My family did it.
And I'm leveraging my losses. So.
Then maybe you can find a different way to do it. That is punitive.
Well, in the interest of time, may we call a truce here based upon the fact that the...
Can I make a suggestion?
That's what you get for trying to explain that, right?
I think the way you're doing it is reasonable as you've explained it. I wonder if somebody cancels HBO on the 15th of the month, if you could tell them, well, you paid for it for the whole month, so you'll be on until the 30th, and then it goes off.
In our business, that's called a half a sandwich, and basically the philosophy of the cable operator has been if you go to a delicatessen and you buy a sandwich and eat half of it, you don't get to get half your money back. The other side is...
Jim Crane would ask for that.
I know, but
at least
I'm right behind Jim, and if it works, I'm going to try it too.
At least in the deli...
It's a good point, Jim. We could tell them something like that.
Jim, at least in the deli, you can take the sandwich home with him in a doggy bag. That's not true with cable television.
They could wait till the end of the month, though.
Then they should be told that. That's one of the issues we're talking about with disclosure. Right now, Sacramento Cable's on notice of failure to comply with your regulations. We are discussing again some aspects of these. The issue of downgrade is one of the most sensitive. The point is that Sac Cable has not complied with any of them, only the ones that meet their guidelines at this point in time. The issue of downgrade fee is currently being litigated in New York, and a federal court has approved the exact language that we're using. I've chosen not to enforce the downgrade fee pending the resolution of that litigation, of that appeal. but I know I can tell you how many people have contacted our office exactly for that issue. So it's one that is not resolved yet.
It is not resolved, but it is not that large of a complaint either. It's a very, very, very small segment of our subscriber base.
Well, there isn't a...
They're very vocal, though.
I think there has to be middle ground between the abuse of it and what people perceive as being charged to change the service.
The regulations that the commission adopted specify that only applies to people who've already been on the service for 6 months. So it does take into account and avoid those problems. I'd like to encourage, Mr. Chairman, you and the members not to be drawn into a point-by-point reconsideration of your regulations here. One of the things we stressed to Councilor Moorhead and Mr. Ruckert when we met with them is that our goal in meeting with them, we had no authority and we have no interest in renegotiating the legislation that your commission has adopted. What we are there to do is listen carefully to their concerns and listen to their affirmative proposals as to on what basis they will come to a realization that they will comply with your commission's regulations. Not what they will do as policy until that policy changes, but on what basis they will come to an acknowledgement of your commission's role in establishing these regulations, whatever they may be. Now, we're waiting to hear on that issue, and we've been promised by Mr. Moorhead that he will be giving us such a proposal in writing. And at that point, your director will come back to you. But this is, what we're getting here is almost a free-floating Punch and Judy show, moving around as to what the issue might be and where they are. I submit to you that your major concern here is you have never, ever had this franchisee say, well, if we get this straightened out, we'll comply. Instead, we get let's talk about this without any recognition of your role in regulation. That's what we asked them for. As soon as we get it, we're prepared to respond. We didn't bring this forward because we had the understanding that the discussions that were held were to be confidential. With that in mind, what we're seeking on your behalf is merely what are their conditions to actually coming to the point where they say, we will comply. You don't have that yet. We don't have it today, and I'd encourage you not to do it on a piece-by-piece basis.
And we absolutely agree with the confidentiality, and we did not bring the subject up, but it is an important issue, and we are trying to work with the commission. We want to work with the commission, and we will be prepared to respond as we have said we would, and I believe we have identified even a date and time that we would respond by, and we will comply with that.
Yeah, I think we brought it up.
I'm going to terminate this very shortly now unless I hear a serious objection, but first we want to thank you for the information you have furnished and to welcome Dave to livable, lovely Sacramento County, and to say that we'll continue these discussions at our December 5th meeting. Thank you, Kim.
Okay, thank you very much.
Where did you say Dave came from? Where did Dave come from? West Virginia.
He's been living here for several years.
Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak to any topic that is not on the agenda? Is there any commission member? This meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.